Good evening, Director Mechanic. Can you hear us?
Yes,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Welcome to the September 9th, 2024 fiscal year 2025 tentative millage rate and fiscal year 2025 tentative annual budget hearing. The meeting format is hybrid. Quorum is physically present at Hillsborough Transit Authority, 1201 East 7th Avenue, Tampa, Florida, 33605, and the rest of the board members are communicating via media technology. I will now call this public hearing to order. Please stand if you would, if you're able to do so, for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Chair Vieira,
Here.
Director Wolstel,
here.
Director Williams. Here. Director Cameron Cepeda. Present. Director Hartfield. Present. Director Henderson.
Present.
Director Hobbs.
Here.
Director King.
Here.
Director Knight.
Here.
Director McAlphatruck.
Here.
Director Mechanic.
Yes.
Director Miller.
Yes.
Director Myers.
Here.
Director Schisler.
Here.
You do have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. This evening, I hereby open the public hearing this evening on the fiscal year 2025 tentative millage rate and fiscal year 2025 tentative annual budget for Hillsborough Transit Authority. Anyone who wishes to speak this evening has signed in and has been identified. Online, we have the documents that summarize the fiscal year 2025 tentative millage rate and fiscal year 2025 tentative annual budget. These documents include the agenda for tonight's public hearing. We will consider the adoption of the following resolutions. First, Resolution R2024-09-28, a resolution of the Hillsborough Transit Authority of Hillsborough County, Florida, adopting the tentative levying of ad valorem taxes, adopting the tentative fiscal year 2025 millage rate of 0.5000 mils, which is more than the rolled back rate of 0.4779 mils by 4.62%, and providing for an effective date. And resolution number R2024-09-29, adopting the tentative fiscal year 2029 annual budget of $188,701,786 and providing for an effective date. The public hearing will be conducted as follows. HART staff will present the fiscal year 2025 tentative millage rate. HART staff will present an overview of the fiscal year 2025 tentative annual budget. The board, will then open the floor for citizen comments regarding only the tentative millage rate and/or the tentative budget. Speaker comments are limited to 3 minutes. Following citizen comments, the board will then take action to move for approval of any necessary changes. 2 resolutions will be presented to the board for approval. The board will approve the required resolutions adopting the fiscal year 2025 tentative millage rate first, and then adopting the fiscal year 2025 tentative annual budget in that order. Staff will now present the fiscal year 2025 tentative millage rate, if you would, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, board members. This is the first required public hearing on the fiscal year 2025 tentative millage rate and fiscal year 2025 tentative annual budget. Notification of this hearing was included on the trim notice mailed to all taxpayers in Hillsborough County, the City of Tampa, and the City of Temple Terrace. The fiscal year 2025 tentative millage rate was discussed with the board on July 15, 2024. The fiscal year 2025 tentative not to exceed millage rate was certified at the July 15, 2024 board meeting and provided to the property appraiser on August 2nd, 2024, in conformance with state law. The fiscal year 2025 tentative millage rate of .5000 mils is the same as the adopted fiscal year 2025 millage rate of .5000 mils. The fiscal year 2025 millage rate of .5000 mils is more than the rollback rate of .4779 mils by 4.62%. Melanie Williams, the Director of Budget and Grants, will present the FY 2025 tentative millage rate.
Good evening. Melanie Williams, Director of Budgets and Grants. As stated, as the CEO stated, the board certified the millage rate in July 2024. Today, I will provide a summary of the historical and proposed budgeted revenues, the historical millage rate and rollback rate, and the board resolution. The chart provides the historical and proposed budgeted revenue over a 10-year period. Focusing on FY25, based on the millage rate of 0.5, it is estimated that $81,806,798 of revenues will be generated. By statute, HART can only budget 95% of Avalon proceeds. Therefore, our FY25 Avalon budget is $77,716,458. This represents a 6.6 increase over FY24. The chart provides the millage rate and rollback rate. For FY25, the 0.5 millage rate is 4.62% above the rollback rate of 0.4779. The rollback rate is the tax rate that produces the same amount of tax dollars as the previous year. Next is the resolution to adopt the tentative FY25 millage rate. Thank you. And that concludes.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from board members? Okay. There appearing to be none. Staff will now present the fiscal year 2025 tentative annual budget.
Thank you, Chair. So the fiscal year 2025 tentative annual budget is $188,701,786 and consists of the following components. The tentative operating budget at $117,305,565. The tentative capital budget, $71,396,221, for a total tentative annual budget of $188,701,786. The tentative annual budget was discussed with the Board and Finance and Audit Committee during the meetings held from May through August of 2024. In addition to the presentation, we have included the budget transmittal letter for your reference. The transmittal letter will be the introduction section of a larger budget document that staff will prepare for submission to the Government Finance Office Association or the GFOA. The transmittal letter also provides a summary of the FY25 budget and provides historical information for the various revenue and expense categories. To be eligible for the consideration of an award from the GFOA for our budget, similar to the award that we receive annually for our annual comprehensive financial report, the budget document must excel as a policy document, financial plan, operations guide, and a communications tool. As noted in previous communication, HART was presented with the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the fiscal year 2024 budget. We will complete the budget document for the fiscal year 2025 and submit it to the GFOA by the deadline of 90 days after adoption of the budget. Melanie Williams, Director of Budget and Grants, will present the FY 2025 tentative budget.
Good evening again. Today, I will provide a summary of the operating statistics, the staffing level, operating revenues and expenses, capital revenues and expenditures, capital project list, combined annual budget, and board resolution. This provides the operating statistics for FY25. The revenue miles and hours for the fixed route has been updated since the last presentation. The total for all modes for revenue miles is 9,187,197. The total for revenue hours, 728,180. Total for ridership, 14,360,847. The FY25 staff includes 814.75 FTEs. This includes 615.75 ATUs, 144 non-bargaining FTEs, 55 Teamsters, totaling 814.75. The next few slides summarizes the operating and capital revenues and expenses. Operating revenues by source is $117,305,565. The largest revenue source is ad valorem tax revenue. Operating expenses by category is $117,305,565. This is a balanced budget. And the largest expense category is personnel costs, and this includes the wages, salaries, and fringe benefits. Capital revenues by source is $71,396,221. Capital expenses by project category is $71,396,221 to have a balanced budget. The next few slides provides detail of various projects within each category. The first category is vehicles and maintenance, totaling $25,318,162. Next, we have facilities and construction, totaling $24,132,991. Technology total is $12,155,825. Bus stops and shelters, $8,388,038. The planning and studies have been updated since the last presentation with a total of $800,000. And then we have safety and security at $601,205, bringing the total capital budget at $71,396,221. This is a combined annual budget, and this includes the operating budget and the capital budget, with a tentative annual budget at $188,701,786. And next is the resolution to adopt the tentative fiscal year 2025 annual budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam. Any questions or comments? Vice Chair Bosso, go ahead, sir.
Can you tell me if these Marion Transit Center upgrades are going to go towards some of the past complaints that we've had about the facility, the alleged mold in the break room, or was it the bathroom? I can't remember the exact details. Do we know what this money is going towards that?
So I believe that these are specific resiliency grants that go to, it doesn't go to the mold, but, and then we haven't confirmed there was any mold. We went right through the restrooms and
You did.
cleaned and sanitized, and we're totally redone the restrooms. So this is be strictly a resiliency grant on building improvements, ADA, elevator, AC, things of that nature.
Okay, so this is grant funds, gotcha. On the University Area Transit Center break room renovation, is this the stop that the drivers were saying there's only one restroom, so multiple drivers are getting backed up? Is this that location?
I don't believe so. Is Mr. Smith here?
I'm just curious. If it's not, it's not.
No, we definitely have plans to improve the UAT restrooms. And actually, I believe switching them around from operators to patrons, but I'll let Mr. Smith
Yeah,
comment.
good evening. Dale Smith, Director of Facilities. The restroom that they were talking about earlier in the year was at Northwest where a door was damaged. We have replaced that steel door and all the restrooms are now back in service. The UATC renovation we're gonna be moving the restrooms, we're gonna swap them, put the patron restrooms out on the platform and the operator restrooms by the operator break room. We're gonna put up a wall to add another level of security for the operators at the actual facility.
Thank you. All right, my last question is about Flamingo Fairs. I didn't realize until today, but that's a local company. Is that right? That they're specialized to HART and PSTA?
I don't believe it's local. I believe it's out of, and correct me if I'm wrong, is Miss Izzo in them? That's a Canadian-based company?
I'm sorry. Are we speaking about in it? Is that what the question is about?
Flamingo Fairs, I couldn't find anything about them on Sunbiz and just who they are, and who owns them.
Well, our back office operations is in it, and they are based out of Canada.
Okay, so it's a Canadian firm. And it's called Init?
INIT.
Okay, I'll look that up. And these $500,000 of enhancements, what are we getting for that?
Miss Izzo?
I don't know offhand. I'll have to get back to you on that to give you a specific list.
So enhancements on the Flamingo system itself?
Yeah,
Okay.
it says 488,722 to enhancements, and it stuck out to me just because I'm very familiar with software as a service integrations, and I'm just really curious what we're getting out of that enhancement. Are you guys adding a new payment profile or tracking?
No, I don't believe we're adding anything like that. We're going away from the paper fares and utilizing the Flamingo system itself, but we'll have to get back to you on the specific updates of the Flamingo.
Yeah, I'd be very interested in that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Board Member Myers, go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I noticed on the bus shelters, and all we have $8.3 million. Can someone tell me the improvements that we're making in East Tampa, how we started in the improvements as we have those funds allocated for bus benches and shelters?
So I can say, without getting into specifics, we do have the plan, and we provided that plan to the board of exactly where the improvements were going to be. And the majority of those improvements will be in District 3, in your district. I can actually send you over the plan again, so you will see exactly where that $8 million is going to be.
I have the plan when we're going to get started, because I don't see any movement in my district. So when are we going to get started, staff, in making some shelters? We're going into the winter now, in the fall.
So I definitely know there's been improvements. There could be in permitting. There's a lot of stages of that. But I will get you an updated of where the projects are and where they sit in the stages they're in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Board Member Knight, go ahead, sir.
I wanted to know, when we went to ride the bus and at the Marion Transit Center, brought it to some of the staff attention that in the men's restroom, it was boarded up. I brought it to some attention right then, including yourself. I want to know if there's any updates or progress, and because even some of those patrons was concerned about that. The restroom was open, but it was out of service, and I don't think that it should be. If there's an emergency or whatever, you got to do something temporary, but try to keep that going. So I'd like to know on that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
And I'll have to get back to you. I'm not aware of the restroom being closed. It might have been that something happened that day, but I will follow up and get you that information.
Excuse me. The restroom wasn't closed. The stall
Oh, the stall, so there
Stall,
must have
yes,
been,
it was
okay.
all barricaded up, and they said it had been for a few days.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll have to follow up and get that information to you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Okay, thank you, board. Now we will take public, and thank you, ma'am, thank you very much. Now we will take public comments regarding the fiscal year 2025 tentative millage rate and fiscal year 2025 tentative annual budget. For those who wish to speak, I ask that you please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And by the way, for any of our members who are appearing virtually, if I miss you and you wish to speak, don't hesitate to get my attention. I don't see anybody, but do we have any public comment? No? Okay, there you go. Okay, I will open the floor to board discussion, and if there are any recommended changes to the budget or the rate, I would ask, move for approval of any of those changes. Okay. Who's speaking? I'm so sorry. Is that Board Member Henderson? I think she's muted if.
No, that was not me.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, maybe it was somebody else, but only virtual ones I see are Board Member Mechanic and Henderson. Okay, we'll move forward. Again, if I missed you, I apologize. Public comment is closed, unless if there's any further comments from board members. We will now vote on the fiscal year 2025 tentative millage rate. After the vote on the tentative millage rate, we will vote on the fiscal year 2025 tentative annual budget. The resolutions will now be read. The resolutions read as follows. Resolution, and I read these, Ms. Mandel, correct? Okay,
Yes, they need.
just making sure. Resolution number R 2024-09-28, a resolution of the Hillsborough Transit Authority of Hillsborough County, Florida, adopting the tentative levying of ad valorem taxes, adopting the tentative fiscal year 2025 millage rate of .5000 mils, which is more than a rolled back rate of .4779 mils by 4.62%, and providing for an effective date. Next is resolution number R 2024-09-29, a resolution of Hillsborough County Transit Authority of Hillsborough County, Florida, adopting the tentative fiscal year 2025 annual budget of $188,701,786 and providing for an effective date. State statutes require that we approve the fiscal year 2025 millage rate before we approve the tentative fiscal year 2025 annual budget. Accordingly, we will vote on each resolution separately. First, is there a motion to adopt or amend the tentative fiscal year 2025 millage rate? And if so, is there a second?
Move to approve.
Okay. We have a motion by Board Member Schisler, seconded by Board Member Myers. Any discussion before we take a vote? Okay. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll just say that normally I would be advocating for the rollback rate because maintaining the 0.5 is technically a tax increase, but this is a very low amount and even barely slightly higher than the normal CPI that we're seeing in America right now, which doesn't even account for all of the excessive increases that go into categories that aren't included into CPI, which manage this organization. And even when my past extremely fiscally conservative friends were on this board in 2012, also maintained it at 0.5, so I'll be supporting it for that reason.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir. We appreciate you. Anyone else? Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Commissioner Wastel is advocating for an increase.
Oh, I'm sorry, what? Oh, a tax increase. Don't ruin it, man. Don't ruin it. I will say this, if I may, that I appreciate everybody working together on this board, and I always, we had some adverse comments made about us and by a couple of days ago publicly that I had to respond to, and I'm a big defender of this board because we don't always agree, but we move this board forward, and I appreciate that. I always like working with everybody here. So, but I just say don't push your luck, Board Member Hartfield. So thank you very much. Unless if there's anybody else, roll call, please.
Chair Viera,
Yes.
Dr. Wolstel?
Yes.
Dr. Williams?
Yes.
Dr. Cameron Sapeda?
Yes.
Dr. Hartfield?
Yes.
Dr. Henderson?
Yes.
Dr. Hobbs?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Director Knight?
Yes.
Director McAlpatrick? Director Mechanic?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. Second, is there a motion to adopt or amend the tentative fiscal year 2025 annual budget? If so, is there a second?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Board Member Schisler. I'll give that one to Mr. Hartfield, if I may, for the second. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Chair Viera?
Yes.
Dr. Wolstel?
Yes.
Dr. Williams?
Yes.
Dr. Cameron Sapeda?
Yes.
Director Hartfield?
Yes.
Director Henderson?
Yes.
Director Hobbs?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Director Knight?
Yes.
Director McAlpatrick?
Yes.
Director Mechanic?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. This public hearing was held in compliance with Florida statutes today, September 9, 2024, to consider the fiscal year 2025 tentative millage rate and the fiscal year 2025 tentative annual budget for Hillsborough Transit Authority. This concludes the public hearing. The final public hearing is scheduled for Monday, September 23, 2024, at 5:30 p.m. at the Hillsborough Transit Authority. Now, do I adjourn the meeting at this time, I assume? Oh,
You can go ahead and adjourn
okay.
this meeting at this
And
time.
before I do that, if I may, I had inquired with our counsel, Ms. Mandel, because we have a committee meeting afterwards where we were going to be, I do this simply to inform board members, which is, you may have read about the actions that Tampa City Council took to additionally fund HART. And we were going to be discussing that at the committee meeting. So in case if anyone has any questions or wishes to hear about it, Mr. Willits will be presenting on that. So I would encourage you to stay if you're able to do so. And by the way, I believe Board Member Schisler is the chair of that committee, but perhaps if members have to leave and they will need to make a statement at the beginning, they can do so. Again, I'll leave that to you, sir, obviously. But that's it. Any other comments? Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Well.
And then the beauty of it, you can go watch it back on YouTube. No, never.